All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today is Monday, June 30th, 2025, Missile Monday, and I have this article from Weon News, Slakia. And it says, China reveals blackout bomb that can knock out enemy power stations. Will this amplify nuclear risk? Here's all about the mysterious missile. So I'm just going to go into this article and bring out a few scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And it says, China revealed a new type of graphite bomb, blackout bomb, on Thursday, June 26, claiming that it could knock out enemy power stations and cause a complete loss of electricity in the targeted area. Slovakia. And it pretty much sounds like, they have an EMP, which would not be surprising, if this were to be used on the United States. Continuing, it says, although the CCTV did not explicitly identify the weapon as a graphite bomb, it showed similar features to graphite munitions. A video was published by the state broadcaster of the country that featured the bomb. A social media channel run by the China Central Television, CCTV, shared an animated video that showed the bomb being launched from a land-based vehicle before ejecting 90 cylinder-shaped submunitions. The canister shown in the video bounced upon impact before detonating midair. They dispersed chemically treated carbon filaments that are designed to short-circuit high-voltage power infrastructure. The circulated video is now viral on the social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter. So again, this is the video. If I can find the actual video, then, I'll feature it, in this video as well. But it says the blackout bomb aims at disrupting the enemy command and control systems by triggering widespread electrical outages over an area of at least 10,000 square meters or 107,639 square feet, CCTV said. The channel, however, did not reveal any further details regarding the weapon or its status. CCTV referred to the bombs as a mysterious type of domestically made missile. As per the shared video, the weapon has a range of 290 kilometers, 180 miles, and a warhead weighing 490 kilograms, 1,080 pounds. All this feature makes the bomb suitable for attacks on military substations and other electrical infrastructure. So just from reading this, it sounds like China pretty much developed an EMP missile, which again, just me speculating that, this very well may be used on the United States. If they don't do it, then, the U.S. may, do it themselves and blame it on China or Russia, because we already know that China owns land in the U.S., and there's still, trade conflict, going on between the United States and China right now. But again, man, this just goes to show you that these nations are gearing up for war, because again, you used to have Ukraine and Russia, the headlines, that have been making, or what has been making headlines of recent news. You have Iran and Israel instead of, Gaza, and Israel, or the Palestinians, the modern day Palestinians, which are the Arabs, which they're not the original Palestinians, but the Palestinians, and those Jewish over there in the land, are at war. But you have Iran, now at odds with Israel, and they've been going back and forth. And you still have China and Taiwan, at war with each other, right? Which is what, the next part of this article is going to go into. So it says a threat to Taiwan. It says, after the video was posted, many were seen speculating on social media that the bomb revelation was a threat to Taiwan's power grid. It is being speculated that the blackout bombs could disable Taiwan's defenses, making nuclear escalation more likely if China faces defeat. Although the Taiwanese legislators have limited the nuclear weapons are off the table, the blackout bomb has now raised the stakes. So again, man, pretty much again, China, they having a blackout bomb as they're calling it, but is essentially an EMP missile, that they're going to use it, man. Whether it's on Taiwan or on the U.S., they're going to use that thing, man. When they're going to use it, we don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But again, this is some serious stuff right here, man. This goes to show you that the world is at war right now, and further proof that the so-called, Jewish people are not the biblical Israelites. Because if they were, none of these things would be taking place in the earth. So I'm just going to grab a few scriptures. I'm going to start with the book of Isaiah, chapter 9 and verse 5. And it says, "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." And right, man, this coming world war, this third world war, it's not going to be like traditional warfare where you would have, men on one side of the battlefield, and a group of men on the other side of the battlefield charging each other in the center, having weapons of war, swords, spears, shields, bucklers, things of that sort, bow and arrows, guerrilla warfare, hand-to-hand combat, This war is primarily going to be fought with the nuclear technology that is on these earth, man, these missiles that are being created, And it's ironic that the two main nations that possess the most nuclear missiles are going to be directly at odds with each other, because that's what it all boils down to as far as, nations going, to war with each other. Russia versus the United States. Russia and America both have the most missiles, but Russia has more, and it's prophesied that Russia is going to destroy America. It's biblical prophecy. This place is going to be taken out, man. Yes, America may have won 2 world wars, but it's not going to win this third one, It's like it says, burning and fuel of fire. This how this place is going to be taken out by those missiles, So I'm going to jump to the book of Isaiah, still in Isaiah, but I'm going to jump to chapter 54 and verse 16. It says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals and the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy and right, man." The modern day smith will be the scientists and physicists that are behind creating and developing these nuclear weapons that are on the earth today. Because what does a blacksmith do? They create weapons of war. And this is what these scientists are doing, man. They're not just creating any kind of weapons. They're creating weapons of mass destruction, And that's what the instrument for his work is. That is the waster to destroy these nuclear missiles, in particular the warhead, because that's the part of the missile that does the damage, And again, this is just one of many examples of these nations gearing up for war. China developing, a blackout bomb, and it's not speculated who they're going to use against. But again, my speculation from the article, it could be used on either Taiwan or the United States. From my personal belief, I believe they'll use that on the U.S. But again, we'll just have to wait and see exactly what plays out, So I'm going to get the book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 9. And it says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all of the men of war draw near, let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong." And indeed, man, this is what these other nations are doing. They're exhausting their resources into their military, and in particular, their nuclear arsenal, because right now you currently have 9 nuclear armed nations on the earth. You have Russia, you have America, you have China, North Korea, India, Pakistan, France, the UK, and Israel. If I'm not mistaken, those are the current nuclear armed nations. And also, I, again, personal belief, I'm not saying this is fact, but I believe that Iran already does have nuclear missiles. They just have them hidden, just personal belief, But again, those are the current nuclear armed nations, on the earth right now. And at one time, during the mid 1940s, when America dropped, those atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they had the world in fear, because the world had never seen anything, of that sort before. Esau literally caused fire to come down from heaven, which, I'll grab that in Revelation chapter 13 and verse 13. Excuse me, Slakia. And it says, "And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men." And that's exactly what he did, in August of 1945, man. He dropped those bombs, It had the world in fear during that time, But ever since then, Russia and America have been in an arms race, And then you even had other nations, that pretty much joined in that arms race, and have, upped their nuclear arsenal as well, But all of these weapons that are being created are going to be used during this time, and none of them are going to be spared. All of them are going to be used to destroy America primarily, So I'm going to come back to Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 4. And it says, "The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the battle." It's like, the Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. "They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land." And right, man, these are, this is going into the nuclear missiles, man. That's that great, the noise of the multitude in the mountains, because you're going to hear these missiles before you see them, man. Because it's going to make a loud noise. You're going to hear them being guided, to America, right? And again, it says they come from a far country. So these missiles are going to be shot from one end of the earth and land on the other end. So again, once Russia, they launch their missiles, are going to be launched from the east and land over here in the west, and just like it says, to destroy the whole land, because even though Esau, Edom's blessing, pursuing to Genesis 27 and 40, was the sword, these nuclear missiles are ultimately the Lord's weapons. Just like it says, they're the weapons of his indignation, the weapons of his righteous anger, because the same way that Esau came into power is the very same way that he's going to be taken out of power by violence, by his sword. Because ultimately, the Lord is going to allow Esau to take himself out, on a small scale, because again, Russia is going to destroy America, But on a much grander scale, our Lord Yahweh Shai, along with the angels, that are going to be accompanying him, are going to destroy this place, you know. So I'm just going to get a couple more, and that'll be it. I'm going to get the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verse 1. Says, and after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. And right, these are 4 literal angels holding back the 4 winds, which the 4 winds represent the destruction that is about to befall this earth. World War III, if you will, i.e. the day of the Lord, because there's an appointed time when this war is going to take place. There's a particular time, but this won't take place until the mark of the beast spoken of in Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 to 18 comes to pass, which is the RFID microchip. Once the majority of people that are slated, to get, chipped, get it, and the elect are sealed. Once the elect is sealed, then this destruction is going to take place, So I'm going to end it with this. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 9 and verse 15. Says, and the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And right, there's a particular time when this war is going to happen. There's a particular hour, day, month, and year, which we're hoping that soon, and it says to slay the third part of men, because you have 3 classes of men on the earth. You have the sons of God, which today are the biblical Israelites, the tribe of Judah, all the way down to the tribe of Issachar, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You have the sons of men, which would be, the heathen nations. And you have the sons of the wicked, which are the nation of Edom, you so-called white people. That's who this destruction is for, Edom, the wicked. 2/3 of the nation of Israel are going to get caught up in this destruction for their wickedness. And, you heathens, as I always say, you're just collateral damage. If you're still over here in America, before this place gets shut down again, for real this time, then you're just over here to die at that point, So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say Shalom.